Hey guys, it's John with ReelBlue Custom Rods, and welcome back to another live stream that we're going to do this week. Kind of pick up where we left off with some of this pigment work that we did. Basically did a dry pigment work. Hello, whoever just joined, welcome. Glad to see you made it. And so we're going to pick up from where we left off from last week when we did some of this dry pigment work. And what we used was really a couple of different, one product, a couple of different colors. So we used Polycolor's white metallic and black metallic resin powder. And we did a dry technique. So the first thing we did is we laid down some white NCP thread, a non-color preserver thread, laid that down first, and then did the dry technique. And then I came back off screen and put some finish on it. And so this has had one coat of finish. And what I want to do is I just want to go in here. I have a couple of bubbles. I just want to make sure I go in there and let those down, couple little bumps. And then what I'll do is we'll kind of get into the second part of this video, which I think you guys will find interesting. And we're going to do a wet version, or more traditional version of pigment work on this rod, on this build here. So again, dry technique with some black, some metallic black, and some metallic white from Polycolor. You can see the black really well. You can see where it's tied into the threads. The metallic white doesn't come out really that well on top of the white thread, but I think that metallic color will give it a little bit of sparkle, excuse me, and give it a little bit of depth. So the next thing I'm gonna do, again, we're gonna do the wet version now of some pigment work. And I'm gonna use some of my Nuno Paulino. So I'm gonna use some steely gray. We have some regular white that we're gonna use. I have some Bewitched, and we're gonna have some black. I'm not so sure about the black because I may get that with the Bewitched, but I still may do a little bit. So we'll wait and see. The next thing I do is I've already mixed up my finish. I've got my finish right here. Hey, Tom, what's going on? Hey, Rainbow Sprinkles, what's going on? Yes, that is true, Rainbow Sprinkles. So I mixed my finish for 3 minutes. And then I let it set in a cup for 3 minutes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to put it out. Almost all of it, probably to right about there on the foil. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put little blobs in a couple of different places. And that's where I'm going to mix my color. So I'm putting the rest of my finish all here in the middle. And so why am I doing that? So I'm putting all my finish on this foil. And that way that foil will help reduce some of those bubbles that are in there. And then I've got 3 spots. Excuse me, I didn't realize I was off the screen there. So I got all my finish right here on the foil. Then I got 3 spots, 1, 2, 3, where I'm not, where I've got some, finish kind of set aside. And now what I'm going to do is the first one I'm going to open up. I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to go ahead and open up this Paulino white. I've used this before with some blue pigments, and it comes out really good. It's got a real good color to it. And again, pigment goes a long way. A little bit goes a long way. So I'm going to put some of that right there. And then what I'll do is we'll mix that up a little bit. And then what I might also do, oh, that's good. I was thinking about mixing some of that metallic silver or that metallic white from Polycolor, but I don't want to do that because this white's got some metallic to it. So I've got that mixed up. The next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab a whole another toothpick, and I'm gonna go with some Bewitched, which is right here. And we're going to do kind of the same thing. I'm going to take just a little bit, and you can kind of see it's kind of got a gray color to it, like a steel color. So I'm just going to pull a little bit. And that's where we're going to put that one at. Set that aside. Mix it up. Again, that's the Bewitched one. And you can kind of see that coming alive a little bit there. Making sure I'm getting all my finish mixed up and my pigment mixed up in there. All right, and then we're gonna do one more, which is the steely gray color. Take the cap off. And this is a bit lighter, more steely looking than the previous one. I know it's hard to kind of tell it on the camera, but these are really good pigments. I like these. And again, a little bit goes a long way. I probably even put a little bit too much in there, but it'll be all right. And I'm just mixing that up, making sure I get all the pigment. And you know what else I'm gonna do, I think, just for good measure. So that's the Bewitched. That's kind of got some silver into that black. And this steely gray is a bit darker. But I think what I want to do is I'm going to reach over and I'm going to grab a little bit of my finish here. And I'm going to do a fourth one. And I am going to use some of that black. Oops, sorry guys. All right, there we go. And so this is the black by Nuno Paulino. So we're going to take some of this black out. And we're going to do the same thing. Let me get a little bit more. All right. Okay, now we're going to mix that up. All right, and these are, I mean, these are really good pigment. Any pigment works really well. You just want to make sure you get the pigment mixed up nice and well in your finish. And you can see that that is quite darker, right, when we talk about black. All right, so black, white, Bewitched, and then steely gray. So the next thing I'm going to do, and this live stream here is going to be, I'm not going to say it's going to be short, but what I'm going to do, we're going to lay the finish down, and then I'm going to come over, I'm going to do a bit of work. Hey, Tom. Yep, that's true. That's a good tip. You can use trays with little spots for each one. That's a very good tip. The only thing about that is then you got to clean the tray. That's my thing, right? And I don't want to clean the tray. Same thing with, like, if you use, you know, like steel cups, when you use them for your finish, you get a few different sizes. It's kind of the same thing, but then you got to get in and start cleaning them, which I don't mind doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start, I'm going to hand turn this rod, and then I'm going to lay this finish down. And this is just good old fashioned, you know, regular finish. No pigment in it. And then I'm just laying that down. And then turn by hand. And what I'll do is once I have this laid on, then we'll do the pigment work. And then I'll keep just turning this. And then when I'm ready, hey, Rainbow, I go through foil sheets like crazy. I'm telling you, I do the same thing. Lots of foil sheets. I actually get the really super wide foil, and then I tear them into individual pieces so it'll last a little bit longer. Will the full length wrap change the power of the rod? Will a full length wrap change the power of the rod? That is a great question, and the answer is yes, because it's not so much your action. I think it would affect your action a little bit, but when you're putting thread and then you're putting finish on it, it's going to change it a bit. And I know a lot of people do that, and that's fine. That's why you see a lot of people do it on a bit where they do full rod wraps on heavier builds. So I will tend to wrap a little bit higher on heavier, heavy freshwater or saltwater rods. Another option, of course, is a custom paint or dipping, right? If you hydro dip your blanks, which I've done before, I've had some blanks hydro dipped, or if you do custom paint, you could do that as well. So I'm just laying this finish on here so I can have a first layer. And then what I'll do is once I get this finish on here, I'll start doing some pigment work. And then it's going to go pretty quick from there because I'm going to start adding my colors, and then I'm going to start blending my colors, and then it's going to go on the dryer, and then I'll have to catch you guys up next week on the status of where it's at after that. But a couple of things before I start adding my pigments to this, right? So when you add pigment, there's a lot of things to consider when you add your pigment. Just always keep in mind, if you've never used pigments before, once you start to add heat and you loosen up the viscosity of your finish, that's going to allow your pigment and or your colors to flow and move around a little bit, right? So when I like to mess with heat, I'm just always cautious, just depending on, what I want to do with it. So I think my method to my madness here, I'm going to start with dark colors. So the first one I'm going to start with is some of this black. And no real rhyme or reason what I'm doing here, but what I am intentionally doing here is avoiding putting black over some of the black finish from the dry technique, if you will. Right? Yeah, so I think that'll work for right now. I'm gonna move that foil so it'll change the color of the screen on you guys. All right, so there's my black. Then I'm gonna come back with my steely gray because it was a bit darker. And I'm gonna lay some of this steely gray, in a couple spots, even maybe intentionally on some of that black. And we'll come back down here. I'm just looking for some spots. Now I will lay the steely gray color down over some of that black from the dry technique that I did. All right, and I'm not getting too crazy there quite yet. And then what I want to do is I'm going to come in here. This is the Bewitched. It's a bit different, a little bit lighter than a steely gray. So I'm going from kind of like dark to black, if you will, or excuse me, dark to light. So the last one I plan on coming in here with will be the white color. And up here at the far right, there's going to be a guide there that's going to go over that, but that's okay because I can lay that guide on, over the top of that, and that color will kind of naturally come underneath it, and it'll still look pretty good. All right, and then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with this white. And it's kind of milky looking, but it's a good color. Does anybody, leave a comment down there, does anybody else use Nuno Paulino pigments? And if so, what do you guys think about them? And so I am laying some of this white pigment over spots where there was, you know, the white thread that I didn't put any finish on. And I'm also laying it over some of the spots that had some of the, oh, I didn't want to get that one there. I want to drip this one in here a little bit. Some of this color. All right, I'm gonna wipe that off because I got a little bit of black on that Q-tip there, or that toothpick. And then I'm just coming in here, again, finding some spots to put this white in. All right. And I think that's it for that part. So I'm gonna slide my aluminum foil over there out of the way. Actually, let's do it this way. Slide that out of the way. And now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back in. You can use, matter of fact, you can use a toothpick, you know, another clean toothpick, or you can come in with a dental tool. I'll come in with the dental tool. And then you can do this while it's on a dryer, while it's just turning by itself, or you can do it yourself and then move it to this, you know, move it to the dryer when you're ready. So I'm just going to come in and you know, some people have, you know, a method to the madness on how they do it. I just kind of like to use and just kind of come up with a pattern and slowly turn the rod. And as I'm doing it, and you can see I'm moving all in one direction. I mean, because I'm turning the blank away from me. So everything's, my marks are kind of going downwards, you know, from the top of the screen down to the bottom of the screen when I rotate it. And sometimes you can, I'll clean off the dental tool or the toothpick, you know, between the times I'm doing this, and sometimes I won't, because, you know, by not cleaning it off, you just carry over what other colors were on the pick, you know what I mean? And what I noticed is I want a little bit more, I want to do a little bit of black from where I was at there. So I know I don't have a lot of color here. I'll get a little bit more. And yeah, again, this part here is going to be underneath the guide, but I can still, when I'm using the tool, I can pull that out, and you'll still be able to see that technique, even with the guide and the wrap over the top of it. So now remember, I went from left to right, pulling down from the top to the bottom. An effective winter forecast camo. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. All right. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go back the opposite direction, and that's going to help me get things moving a little differently. Marbling mud. I cannot say that I have. I cannot say that I've ever used marbling mud. And so I'm just, again, turning the rod, and I'm just kind of, you know, using my dental pick here to help, you know, blend the colors and create some kind of, you know, funky, cool pattern. You know, whatever it'll give me, it's all I'm looking for. And so that's really it. And that's all I'm doing is just move that stuff around. Oh, and I'll come back over here. So where I had just that dot, I just want to do something with that. And something that'll work. And so that's really it. I just wanted to move that around, get those colors, right? And again, this isn't on a dryer, it's just sitting here, you know, and I'm good to go. But I do want to get it on a dryer so it'll level out a little bit and of course get the bubbles out. So I will want to hit it with a little bit of heat. And so if I take an alcohol torch to this now, it is going to cause, when I hit it, it's going to lighten the viscosity of the finish, which of course is going to allow it to move around a little bit. You can do that, and by doing that, you're going to get more blended colors. So when I put heat on here, these pigment colors are going to blend in a bit more and move around in the finish as the finish moves because it's got a thinner viscosity, right? But I want to hit it with some heat to take any bubbles out. But if I wanted to try something different and get it to blend, I can just keep a little bit of heat on it for a little bit longer. And again, that would move around. So again, what we did, we used, initially we set the conditions for this with the polycolor black metallic and white metallic, which you'll find a link to the description in the below where you guys can get those. And then the Nuno Paulino pigments, I used Bewitched, which was the lighter of the darker colors. Black, regular black, regular white, which has a bit of metallic in it. It looks really nice. Looks really good with blue pigment colors, in my opinion. And then the steely gray. Those were the 4 colors that I used. So I'm just rotate my rod real quick like that. And then this is kind of where they lie, right? So we have, that's the white. This is the black here. Here, I'll use this. This is the white. This is the black. This is the steely gray, and that is the Bewitched. That Bewitched has a little bit more silver tone to it. So what I'll do next is I'm going to get this on the dryer, put a little bit of heat on it so it will let those release those air bubbles. And then I will do another live stream next week, probably on Wednesday or Thursday. So just pay attention to the community tab. And we're going to take this to another level and do something else with it. So hopefully you guys will come back and join me next week and see the next thing that we're going to do to give this some more character and some more depth. So thanks for joining, guys. I truly appreciate it. As always, make sure you watch this next video here. Until next time, guys, take care. Bye.